Most people go through their entire lives believing that life is a battle. From the moment we are born, we are taught to fight for what we want, to struggle against our circumstances, and to view the world as a hostile place where only the strongest survive. We wake up every day, put on our armor, and step into the trenches, ready to fight for our health, our wealth, and our happiness. But what if that entire perspective is wrong? What if the stress, the anxiety, and the constant exhaustion aren't necessary parts of life, but are actually symptoms of playing the wrong game? In 1925, Florence Scovel Shinn wrote a book that shattered this battlefield mindset. It is titled The Game of Life and How to Play It. Her premise is radical but incredibly simple. Life is not a battle. It is a game. But here is the catch. It is a game that you cannot win if you do not know the rules. Most of us are playing this game with our eyes closed, making moves that actively hurt us, and then wondering why we are losing. We are trying to force doors open that are locked while ignoring the doors that are wide open for us. The main rule of this game is the law of giving and receiving, also known as the law of the boomerang. In the physical world, a boomerang returns to the thrower with perfect precision. In the game of life, our thoughts, deeds, and words work the same way. If you send out hate, you will be surrounded by hateful situations. If you send out fear, you will attract frightening events. But if you send out love, love will return to you. If you speak of success, success will find you. This summary is your rule book. We are going to hand you the manual that most people never receive. In the next hour, you're going to learn how to stop fighting the old battles and start playing the game with the skill of a master. You will discover the 3 departments of your mind and how to retrain them. You will learn the law of non-resistance, the counterintuitive secret that explains why fighting a problem usually makes it worse. And most importantly, you will learn how to use your words as a magic wand to change your reality. There is a divine design for your life, a picture of perfect health, unlimited wealth, and deep happiness. But you cannot claim it if you are too busy imagining disaster. So if you are ready to stop struggling and start winning, let's look at the equipment you are working with. Let's open the hood of your consciousness and look at the 3 minds. The machinery of destiny, understanding the 3 minds. To play the game of life effectively, you first have to understand the equipment you're working with. If you were trying to drive a high-performance sports car, you would need to know the difference between the gas pedal, the brake, and the steering wheel. If you confuse the brake with the gas, you wouldn't just fail to move forward. You might actively damage the engine. The human mind works in a similar way. Florence Scovel Shinn teaches us that our mind is not just one single chaotic voice in our heads. It is actually divided into 3 distinct departments, each with a very specific job to do. These are the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. Understanding the relationship between these 3 is the difference between winning and losing. Let's start with the subconscious mind. You can think of the subconscious as the engine room of a massive ship. It is a place of immense raw power. It is responsible for driving the ship forward. But it has one critical limitation. It is completely blind. The engine room doesn't see where the ship is going. It simply obeys the orders sent down from the bridge. If the order comes down to steer into an iceberg, the engine room will drive the ship into the iceberg with just as much power and enthusiasm as it would steer into a safe harbor. It does not judge. It does not hesitate, and it does not have a sense of humor. This is exactly how your subconscious functions. It takes every single word you say and every emotion you feel as a direct command. If you constantly say, "I always catch a cold," in the winter, the subconscious mind clicks its heels like a faithful soldier and says, "Very well, let's prepare the body for a cold." It doesn't know that you don't want the cold. It only knows that you ordered it. It is like a sensitive recording plate that captures every vibration you send out. Most people are unknowingly feeding their subconscious a diet of fear and limitation. They joke about being broke. They complain about their bad luck and they replay old memories of failure. And the faithful subconscious working day and night takes those orders and manifests them into reality. Standing above this deep, powerful engine room is the conscious mind. This is the part of you that is thinking right now. It is the mortal or carnal mind. It deals with life as it appears to the 5 senses. It sees the stack of unpaid bills on the table. It feels the ache in your knee. It hears the bad news on the television. The conscious mind is the captain on the bridge of the ship. Its job is to look out at the world and give orders. The problem, however, is that this captain is easily frightened. The conscious mind sees a storm on the horizon, maybe a rumor of layoffs at work, and it panics. It screams down to the engine room, "We are going to crash. We are going to lose everything." And because the engine room obeys the captain without question, the crash becomes inevitable. Shin explains that this is the trap of living only by what we see. When we allow the conscious mind to be controlled by the negative things in front of us, we create a vicious cycle. We see trouble, so we feel fear. The subconscious receives the fear and creates more trouble. We see more trouble, feel more fear, and the cycle repeats. But there is a way out. There is a third department of the mind that most people completely ignore. It is called the superconscious. This is the realm of perfect ideas. You can think of it as the God mind within each of us. While the subconscious is the engine and the conscious is the captain, the superconscious is the perfect map. In this realm, there is a divine design for your life. Plato, the ancient philosopher, believed that for every object in the world, there was a perfect pattern in the spiritual realm. Shin applies this to you. Somewhere in your superconscious mind, there is a version of your life that is perfect. In this divine design, there is a place where you are fully healthy, incredibly wealthy, surrounded by love, and expressing your unique talents to the world. It is a picture of you as you were meant to be. This perfect pattern is trying to flash its way into your conscious mind. It often appears as a sudden flash of inspiration or a deep desire to do something great. That feeling you get when you dream of a better life isn't just a fantasy. It is a glimpse of the superconscious trying to tell you what is truly possible. The winning strategy for the game of life then becomes very clear. We must train the conscious mind, the captain, to stop looking at the storm and start looking at the map provided by the superconscious. We have to impress the subconscious with these perfect ideas. We have to bypass the fear of the moment and force our engine room to drive us toward the divine design. But how do we do that when the problems in front of us seem so real? How do we tell the engine room to go full speed ahead when the captain is staring at a wall of debt or illness? This is where the real skill of the game comes in. It requires us to do something that feels completely unnatural. We must learn to stop resisting our problems. We must learn the art of non-resistance, which is the subject of our next section. The art of letting go, the law of non-resistance. Now that we understand the machinery of the mind, we arrive at what is arguably the most challenging rule in the entire game. It is a rule that goes against almost every instinct we have been taught since childhood. If you were bullied on the playground, you were likely told to stand up for yourself. If you are facing a financial crisis, conventional wisdom tells you to worry, to scramble, and to fight the debt with everything you have. We are culturally conditioned to believe that effort equals results, and that the only way to overcome an obstacle is to push against it with brute force. But Florence Scovilescin throws a wrench into this entire belief system with a concept called the law of non-resistance. The core of this law is captured in a simple rhyming phrase that has become famous in spiritual circles. What you resist persists. To understand why this happens, we have to look back at the subconscious mind. Remember, the subconscious acts on the pictures and feelings you feed it. When you resist a situation, when you are angry at a difficult boss, terrified of a bill, or frustrated by a chronic illness, you are intensely focused on that problem. You are giving it your full emotional attention. You are replaying the argument in the shower. You are staring at the ceiling at night thinking about the lack of money. By fighting the situation so hard, you are actually feeding it with your own life energy. You are telling your subconscious this problem is real. It is big and it is powerful. And because the subconscious is a faithful servant, it ensures that the problem stays exactly where it is. By pushing against the wall, you are holding the wall in place. Shin uses a powerful biblical instruction to explain the antidote. Agree with thine adversary quickly. At first glance, this sounds like terrible advice. It sounds like giving up or becoming a doormat. But in the context of the game of life, agreeing does not mean you accept defeat. It means you stop fighting the reality of the moment so that you can change it. It is a mental move, very similar to the martial art of judo. In judo, if an opponent lunges at you, you don't stand stiff and try to stop them. You flow with their energy to unbalance them. Shin illustrates this with a story of a woman who was constantly annoyed by a family member who lived with her. This relative was critical, negative, and domineering. The woman came to Shin saying that her life was a misery, and she was fighting with this relative every single day, trying to change him, trying to defend herself, trying to prove him wrong. Every day was a battle, and every day she lost. Shin told her the secret. She was resisting him, and therefore she was binding him to her life. She advised the woman to stop striving, to stop arguing, and to practice non-resistance. She was told to mentally bless the relative and say, "I am not disturbed by this." The woman went home and tried it. The next time the relative started his criticism, instead of snapping back or feeling that familiar knot of anger in her stomach, she remained calm. She mentally agreed that he was there, but she refused to let it shake her peace. She withdrew her emotional reaction. The result was almost magical. Because she was no longer feeding the conflict with her anger, the dynamic collapsed. Within a short time, the relative miraculously decided to move out on his own accord. The situation resolved itself not because she fought it, but because she finally stopped holding on to it. This principle applies just as heavily to money. Many people live in a state of constant financial resistance. They hate their bills. They dread opening the mailbox. Every time they spend $1, they feel a pang of fear. This is pure resistance. You are telling the universe that money is a difficult, scarce, and painful subject. The law of non-resistance suggests a radical shift. Make friends with your debt. This doesn't mean you want to keep it, but it means you stop fearing it. Shin advises that if you are in debt, you should not worry about it, but rather bless the bills. You should look at the debt and say, "I trust that the supply to pay this is on its way." By relaxing your mind, you stop the panic. When the panic stops, the congestion in your subconscious clears. Suddenly, you get an idea for a new business, or a refund check appears, or a new opportunity lands in your lap. The channel opens up because you stopped blocking it with your own anxiety. There is a beautiful phrase Shin uses: stand still and see the salvation. Standing still doesn't mean doing nothing physically. It means doing nothing negatively in your mind. It means reaching a state of poise where you are so sure of the outcome that you don't need to panic. It is the feeling of ordering a package from a reliable store. You don't pace back and forth wondering if it will arrive. You know it is coming, so you relax. However, non-resistance is only half the battle. You can stop fighting the bad, but you must also ensure you aren't accidentally ordering more bad luck through your past actions. The game of life is a game of circles, and everything comes back around. This brings us to the next critical rule, the law of karma and its surprising solution, the law of forgiveness. The game of boomerangs, karma, and the law of forgiveness. If the law of non-resistance is about how we handle our internal battles, the law of karma is about how we handle our external relationships. We have already touched on the idea that life is a game of boomerangs. But now, we must look at the terrifying and wonderful precision of how this actually works. Karma is a Sanskrit word that simply means action. It is the Eastern equivalent of Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In the game of life, you cannot cheat this system. There are no shortcuts, and there are no hidden places where your actions go unnoticed. Florence Scovel Shinn is very direct about this. She teaches that we are always reaping what we have sown. Many people are confused by their bad luck. They say, "I am a good person, I work hard, I don't break the law, why do bad things keep happening to me?" But they fail to look at their mental karma. You might not be stealing money from people, but are you stealing their reputation with gossip? You might not be physically hurting anyone, but are you holding a deep burning resentment toward a family member? The universe does not distinguish between a physical punch and a mental punch. Both are acts of aggression, and both send a boomerang of pain out into the world that must eventually curve back and hit the thrower. This brings us to one of the most practical and misunderstood tools in the game: forgiveness. Most of us view forgiveness as a moral duty. We think we should forgive people because it is the nice or spiritual thing to do. We think of it as a gift we are giving to the person who hurt us. But Shin flips this script entirely. She argues that forgiveness is actually a mathematically necessary move for your own survival and success. It is not a gift to the other person. It is a gift to yourself. Imagine your good fortune, your health, your wealth. Your love is trying to reach you through a long, narrow pipe. Now imagine that every time you feel resentment, anger, or bitterness towards someone, you are shoving a large, jagged rock into that pipe. It doesn't matter if the person deserves your anger. It doesn't matter if they were truly wrong and you are truly right. The rock still blocks the pipe. The money, the health, and the opportunities that were headed your way get stuck behind that blockage of resentment. There's a fascinating story in the book about a woman who was suffering from a terrible illness. She had tried every cure, every doctor, and every prayer, but nothing worked. She spoke to Shin, who discovered that the woman was holding a deep, long-standing grudge against her husband. She felt he had wronged her, and she replayed that injury in her mind every single day. Shin told her, "You cannot be healed while you hate." The woman realized that her resentment was actually the cause of her spiritual congestion, which had manifested as physical congestion in her body. She began to practice forgiveness, repeating the affirmation, "I fully and freely forgive him. I loose him and let him go." As she dissolved the resentment, the energy in her body began to flow again, and her physical healing followed almost immediately. This leads us to a comforting corollary called the law of substitution. One of the main reasons we find it hard to forgive or let go is fear. We are afraid that if we lose a person, a job, or an opportunity, we will be left with nothing. We cling to bad relationships because we fear loneliness. We cling to bad jobs because we fear poverty. But the law of substitution states that the universe abhors a vacuum. If you let go of something that is not right for you, something better must rush in to take its fill, provided you stay in a state of faith. Shin assures us, you cannot lose anything that belongs to you by divine right. If a person walks out of your life, it is because they do not belong in your divine design. By trying to force them to stay or by hating them for leaving, you are only delaying the arrival of the person who is meant for you. If you lose a sum of money, you must not despair. You must affirm that God is my immediate supply, and that money will return to you often from a completely different direction. So the winning strategy requires a constant cleaning of the heart. You must check your metal house daily. Are there any old resentments hiding in the corners? Are there any dusty grudges on the shelves? You have to sweep them out. You have to cut the invisible strings that tie you to the people who hurt you. When you forgive, you are essentially saying, "I am too important and my destiny is too great to be weighed down by this luggage." You cut the weight and you rise. But once you have cleared the blocks and stopped the resistance, how do you actively call in the good you desire? You need a tool to direct the ship. You need to learn how to speak the language of the superconscious. This brings us to the most powerful instrument you possess, your word. Your magic wand, the power of the word. We have explored the map of the mind, and we have learned how to clear the roadblocks of resistance and resentment. Now we are ready to pick up the primary tool of the game. If life is a game, then your words are the controller. Florence Scovel Shinn famously said, "Your word is your wand." This is not just a poetic metaphor. She meant it literally. In the game of life, we are constantly casting spells on ourselves, usually without even realizing it. Every time you speak, you are releasing a vibration into the ether. You are sending a signal to the engine room of your subconscious mind, and that engine room immediately gets to work to make that signal a reality. The problem is that most of us are using this wand like a child playing with a loaded weapon. We are careless with our speech. We wake up and say, "I am so sick and tired of this weather." We tell our friends, "I can never afford a vacation like that." We joke, "If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all." We think we are just describing our reality, but we are actually prescribing it. When you say, "I am sick and tired," you are essentially placing an order with the universe for more sickness and more fatigue. Your subconscious mind does not know you are complaining. It thinks you are stating a preference, and it rushes to fulfill that order. We are continually legislating for our own failure. Shin teaches that to win the game, we must become vigilant watchers of our words. We must train ourselves to speak only of the things we want to see come to pass and refuse to speak of the things we fear. This requires the discipline of a soldier. It means that when you look at your bank account and see a low number, you do not exclaim, "I am broke." Instead, you must catch that word before it leaves your lips. You must affirm, "God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money are coming to me quickly under grace in perfect ways." This brings us to the art of the affirmation. An affirmation is simply a statement of truth that you repeat to impress the subconscious mind. But there is a right way and a wrong way to construct them. Shin advises that you should never beg the universe. You should not say, "Please, I hope I can get a job." Begging implies that you do not have it and you're afraid you won't get it. It reinforces the lack. Instead, you must make a demand. You must speak with the authority of someone who already owns the thing they desire. One of the most famous and powerful affirmations in the entire book is for career success. Shen gave this to hundreds of her students, and it works because it covers all the bases. It goes like this. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. Notice the structure. It isn't just I want a job. It asks for wonderful work, meaning you enjoy it. It asks for it in a wonderful way, meaning you don't have to struggle or hurt anyone to get it. It promises wonderful service, acknowledging that you must give value to receive value. And it demands wonderful pay, ensuring you are not exploited. It is a perfect, complete decree. But simply mouthing the words is not enough. You cannot stand in front of a mirror, recite an affirmation like a robot, and expect miracles if your heart is full of doubt. The wand only works if it is waved with faith. You have to feel the reality of what you are saying. This is where the concept of acting the part comes in. Shin tells us that we must act as if the affirmation has already worked. If you have asked for success, you must carry yourself like a successful person. You must dress the part. You must prepare the space. There is a story of a woman who wanted a luxurious apartment but could only afford a small, dingy room. She felt trapped by her poverty. Shin told her to stop complaining about the small room and instead bless it. She told the woman to clean the room, make it as beautiful as possible, and treat it like a palace. By changing her attitude and her words, by calling the room cozy instead of cramped, she raised her vibration. She prepared her consciousness for something better. And sure enough, because she was faithful over a few things, she was soon made ruler over many. A beautiful new apartment opened up for her in a way she could never have predicted. This is the daily practice of the game. It is a constant filtering process. You will catch yourself about to say something negative about the traffic, about your spouse, about the economy. And you must stop. You must flip the script. You must say, I deny that appearance. The truth is that divine order is established in my mind and affairs. It feels strange at first. You might feel like you are lying to yourself, but you are not lying. You are stating a higher truth. You are acknowledging that the current mess is temporary and the divine design is the permanent reality. This leads us to the ultimate question. What exactly are we aiming for? Is the game just about getting more stuff? Is it just about cars and houses? Shin says no. There is a specific shape to a successful life, a perfect geometric balance that we must strive for. If you get the money but lose your health, you have lost the game. We are now ready to look at the winning condition, the square of life. The winning condition, the square of life. We have learned the rules. We have cleared the blocks of resentment. And we have picked up the magic wand of our words. But before we charge forward, we need to know exactly where we are going. In any game, you need to know what winning actually looks like. If you were playing soccer, you wouldn't run aimlessly around the field. You would aim for the goal. In the game of life, many people are running fast, but they have no idea where the goalpost is. They chase money thinking that is the win condition, or they chase a specific romantic partner thinking that will fix everything. But Florence Scovel Shin warns us that winning is not about achieving just one thing at the expense of everything else. It is about geometry. It is about building the square of life. Imagine a perfect square drawn on the ground. For your life to be stable, happy, and successful, this square must have 4 equal sides. The first side is health. This is the foundation. Without physical vitality, the other sides of the square cannot be enjoyed. You cannot enjoy your millions if you were in a hospital bed. The second side is wealth. Shin was very pragmatic. She did not believe that poverty was spiritual. She believed that God is a provider of abundance and that every person has the right to be free from financial worry. Wealth in this game is not about greed. It is about having the resources to live freely. The third side is love. This includes romantic love, family, and friendship. A life full of money but empty of connection is a failed game. The fourth side, and the one that is most often neglected, is perfect self-expression. This fourth side is critical. Many people have health, money, and a family, but they are deeply unhappy because they hate their work. They are stuck in jobs that drain their soul. Shin insists that for every single person, there is a divine design. There is a specific destiny that is yours and yours alone. She famously wrote, "There's a place that you are to fill and no one else can fill. Something you are to do which no one else can do." Winning the game means finding that thing. It means aligning your life so that you are doing the work you love and you are being paid wonderfully for it. It is the feeling of the jigsaw puzzle piece finally clicking into the only spot it fits. When you are in your divine design, life ceases to be a struggle. Doors open for you. The right people appear. You are swimming with the current, not against it. However, there is a major trap we must avoid when asking for this design. Shin warns us against outlining. Outlining is when you tell the universe exactly how you want your desire to be fulfilled. It is when you say, I want to be rich, but it has to come from a lottery win on Tuesday. Or I want love, but it has to be with this specific person who doesn't seem interested in me. When you outline, you are limiting the universe. You are using your small, finite human mind to dictate terms to the infinite intelligence. Shin advises that we should never ask for a specific person or a specific building. Instead, we should ask for the divine selection. There is a story of a woman who desperately wanted a specific house. It was an old, charming house in the country, and she had her heart set on it. She prayed for that house, but despite her affirmations, the deal fell through. She was heartbroken and felt that the law had failed her. But a few months later, she found another house, one that was cheaper, in better condition, and had a better view. She realized that the first house had a faulty foundation that would have cost her a fortune to fix. The universe had protected her from her own limited choice. This is why Shin recommends a very specific phrasing when we pray or affirm. We should say, I desire this or something better. This phrase or something better is your safety clause. It gives the superconscious mind permission to upgrade your request. It acknowledges that you don't know everything and that the divine design might be grander than you can currently imagine. So the goal of the game is not to force your will upon the world. It is to relax and allow the divine design to emerge. You are not the architect. You are the builder. The blueprints are already drawn in the superconscious. Your job is to stop scribbling over them with your worries and doubts. You must trust that the perfect health, the perfect wealth, the perfect love, and the perfect self-expression are already yours in the spiritual realm. They are waiting for you to claim them. This brings us to the final hurdle. We know the rules, we have the tools, and we see the goal. But how do we cross the finish line? How do we bridge the gap between knowing this information and actually living it? The final secret is the most active part of the game. It is not enough to just think. You must move. Faith without works is dead. Conclusion. We have reached the end of our journey through Florence Scovel Shin's masterpiece, The Game of Life and How to Play It. We have dismantled the old belief that life is a battleground of struggle and suffering. We have discovered the three minds, the captain, the engine room, and the divine design. We have learned to stop fighting our problems with the law of non-resistance. And we have learned to clear the path of success with the law of forgiveness. We have even picked up our magic wand, realizing that every word we speak is a brick in the house we are building. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. You can know all the rules, you can say all the affirmations, and you can visualize your goal until the picture is crystal clear. Yet you can still fail to win the game if you miss this last critical step. It is the secret that bridges the gap between your imagination and your reality. That secret is action. Shin leaves us with a stern warning. Faith without action is dead. Many people misunderstand the law of attraction. They think it means sitting on a couch, closing their eyes, and wishing for $1 million until it falls through the ceiling. This is not how the game is played. The universe requires you to prove your faith. You must act as if you have already received the thing you asked for. This is what Shin calls preparing for the wish. She illustrates this with a magnificent story from the Bible which she interprets metaphysically. 3 kings are in a desert desperate for water for their men and horses. There is no rain, no cloud in the sky, and no sign of hope. They consult a prophet who tells them something strange. He says, Thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet make this valley full of ditches. Think about how absurd that sounds. They were told to dig ditches to catch rain, even though there was zero evidence that rain was coming. But they did it. They dug the ditches in the dry baking heat. And because they prepared the capacity to receive, the water came. It filled the ditches from a hidden source. Shin asks us, what are you doing to show your faith? If you have asked for financial success, are you still hoarding your money out of fear, or are you spending what you have with confidence and gratitude? If you have asked for a new job, have you updated your resume? Have you bought the clothes you would wear to the interview? If you have asked for a partner, have you cleared out a drawer in your dresser for them? This is the active faith that impresses the subconscious mind. When you dig the ditch, when you buy the suitcase for the trip you haven't booked yet, you are sending a shockwave of confidence into the engine room. You are telling your subconscious, I am so sure this is happening that I am getting ready for it right now. That level of conviction is unstoppable. The subconscious has no choice but to deliver. So the game of life is not a spectator sport. You cannot win from the sidelines. You have to get on the field. You have to speak the word, and then you have to do the work. You have to forgive the people who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. You have to ignore the appearance of failure and keep your eyes locked on the divine design. It takes courage. It takes discipline. There will be days when the captain of your conscious mind sees a storm and wants to panic. That is normal. But now you have the rule book. You know that the storm is just an illusion. You know that if you stand still, maintain your non-resistance, and keep your words positive, the storm must break. The boomerang of good must return. As we close this summary, I want you to look at your own life. Look at the 4 sides of your square: your health, your wealth, your love, and your self-expression. Which side needs work? Where have you been speaking failure? Where have you been resisting? Today is the day you start playing the game differently. Today is the day you stop begging for crumbs and start demanding your divine design. You have the equipment. You have the power. It is your move. If this summary has given you a new perspective on your life, I want you to claim it right now. Go to the comment section and write the words, "I am winning." By writing it down, you are taking that first step of action. You are declaring your intention to the world. And if you want to keep mastering the game, make sure you subscribe to Neuro Whispers. We are dedicated to breaking down the greatest books and wisdom to help you level up. Thank you for watching. Keep digging your ditches, and I will see you in the next summary.